And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MakerCast, episode 17, here on my channel. I know that I haven't been on the show before, but I've been lurking for a long time. I've been friends with everybody running the show, and it's been really exciting. So I am super pleased to host the show with these lovely guests who you will hear from today. And we're just here to share what we've been working on, what we hope to be working on, and any sort of maker. We'll have plenty of maker discussions. Brian and I have been working on a project together. So here's your preview for all of these awesome content creators' next moves. And but before I get to their introductions, I wanted to briefly acknowledge the Black Lives Matter movement and explain that we did postpone this show 1 week from last weekend to now in respect of the Black Lives Matter movement having center stage for what's become a really, really important cultural moment in the world's history. And we are all dedicated to improving and the world and fighting racial inequality, and want to give you some links to donate to various Black Lives Matter related causes in the description if you are so inclined. And thanks for bearing with us. I know it's a complicated time for us all to be making as well. It's a complicated time to be creative. So with that, we'll move on to our introductions. You probably know me. I'm Becky Stern. I am a content creator here on my own YouTube channel. I also work at Autodesk on the Instructables team as a software product manager there. And I teach part-time at SVA here in New York City in a graduate program. So I will pass it on to Bleeptrack. Sabine, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Bleeptrack, or Sabine. I'm a PhD student in machine learning, and I have a YouTube channel where I update every about 2 weeks about my stuff. I do some making stuff and also like coding in the artsy machine learning kind of way.
Awesome. Welcome to my channel. Let's go next to Timon.
Hi, I'm Timon. I'm from Germany and also known as Professor Fartsparkle on Hackaday. And I'm mostly active on Twitter, and I post a lot of PCB design, electronics, CNC milling, 3D printing, product design, yeah, the whole spectrum, really.
Awesome to hear. Let's go around in the circle and go to Liz next.
Hi, I'm Liz. I have a channel, Blitz City DIY. Do a bunch of electronics things, single board computer stuff, Linux, 3D printing, basically everything that everyone does here. So, yeah.
Neat. Welcome. Wanted to chat with you for a while, as well as Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Lough. I'm from Ireland, and on my channel I mainly do things about ESP8266 and ESP32s. Haven't made a video in a while because I just moved, but so maybe I'll start making videos about moving. Who knows?
Well, I'm glad that's in your past, but yeah, plenty of home improvement projects. And what's up, Steven? Welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm Steven. I'm from the US. I have a small YouTube channel where I make all kinds of random stuff, but as of late, I've been working on a pick and place machine.
A pick and place machine you're making yourself? That's bonkers.
It's been hard.
Well, it's really awesome to have you all on my channel. I feel super privileged that you would take the time to come hang out with me, although it's really enjoyable to see everyone hang out together. And I'm sure despite everything, we've all been working on something this month. So I'd like to go for a round of updates and hear what y'all have been working on. And then I did plan for later on a small game for us to play. So if you're watching the stream, make sure you stay tuned for a game. We're going to see if we can. It's sort of a trivia game. It's like a name identification game. It'll be so super fun. So who wants to go first? I won't say, volunteers.
I can go.
Great, please.
Okay. So I've been working on a couple things this month. The biggest thing was behind me, I did a robot MIDI xylophone, which I can demo really quick. So right now I've got a keyboard on my desk, and so it's pretty responsive. And then I can play. This might get a little glitchy depending, because it is over Bluetooth. So sometimes it can get a little funky because I'm on Windows and the Bluetooth over MIDI support is a little bit meh on Windows. So I'm actually sending it through a virtual loop back, which I won't get into. But if I play from Ableton, so that's all playing live with pre-recorded MIDI. So that was a big thing. I'd been working on that for about a year. Because at first I started with a Raspberry Pi, and then I moved to a itsy bitsy NRF 52840. So it's all in CircuitPython now. It's basically these little solenoids that hit the keys on the xylophone, and it's actually this old bell kit that I've had since I was like 11. Because when I was in middle school, they had these if you were going to do percussion. So that was a big thing. And I'm going to be doing kind of more stuff with that, hoping to do some like cover songs with it and things. And then some other Bluetooth stuff I've been working on is this thing I collabed with Noe Ruiz for Adafruit. I wrote the code for it. We called it the Buzzy Box, where basically it links up to your phone, and when you get a notification, it buzzes and lights up. And actually, I can send a text to my phone just to like demo it really quick. So I just sent the text, which should come in a second. Yeah, so just buzz, and now it's flashing. And depending on the app, it'll be a different color on the onboard NeoPixel on the feather. And then if I clear the notification, it goes away. I'm really bad at checking my phone, so I've actually been legit using this. I know sometimes we'll make projects and then like maybe they don't get used, but I have actually been using this on my desk. And then I did a quick remix of a 3D model that, again, Noe had made, where there's a fan extruder for solder fumes. And so I basically remixed it so that it could fit this little mini Noctua fan. You might be able to see the brown and tan fan inside there. And it's spec'd out for googly eyes, but I didn't have any, so I actually like 3D printed some real quick. And also, and please stop me if anyone wants to like have any questions. And this week
I have like 5 questions, but I'm going to hold off till the end.
I also have many questions. Okay.
Okay. For a second, I was like, I feel like I'm just talking out. But this week I did like a little guitar tuner project again with Noe, where when I'm doing my acoustic guitar, I always like to tune by ear, and so I usually pull up like a web browser like GUI app. So I used a Pi portal, and Noe made this really awesome graphic. And so when you tap on the screen, it plays a sampled guitar tone 3 times for you to tune to. And he also designed this case, which is really cool. I think it kind of looks like an arcade machine. And then one last thing I'll talk about. David Watts and I are doing this collab on Tap Tempo, and we're kind of discussing how we want to do it. Like, it would be like kind of beyond a metronome, kind of almost making like a drum machine kind of thing. And so the idea is people be able to put in the tempo just by tapping. So I did like a quick proof of concept code in CircuitPython using a clue, because it has cap touch at the bottom. So if we just put in like a quick beat, see it registered 140, and it's playing back. And just to show it can do faster ones, I'll do a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was a fun coding adventure, just trying to get it so that it was registering the hits properly and had the timings right, and then would play back. That was a lot of coding that I definitely was working on it till like, there was one night I started at like 9, I didn't stop till like 1, I finally got it. I was like, okay, cool. Because it's weird in Python because you don't really have that real-time clock that you do in C, so I was doing a lot of kind of workaround things. So yeah, just that's what I've been working on.
A lot of music stuff. Whole bunch of like music theme stuff going on.
I'm blown away by your progress, though. Like, I know you've been working on the bells for a while, but like, still, I have not that you have so many projects going on at once. It sounds so great.
I
The xylophone is
absolutely
just
regret going
I
after
have
Liz.
a question about middle school. Can we? Oh, give her going first. I'll go next.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Liz, I have a question about middle school band.
Yeah.
Were you the only female in your percussion? Because I played middle school band, and they tried to get me to play the bells, and I'm like, I can't read up down music. I can read rhythm music. And then I had to like write in all the notes.
So the way I started playing bells was I actually just showed up to band one day because I had played piano and I just wanted to be in there. And so they didn't have anyone on bells, and they said, well, bells is a piano with sticks. And so that's how I got into that. Yeah.
That's great. That's a way more appropriate way to get into the bells, because I was like, I don't play piano. I play timpani. That's bom, 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 bom.
Yeah.
Well, I was curious. I dropped out of band when they told me I would have to carry the bells in marching band.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good reason to drop out.
I never did that. No.
Yeah, I would prefer to carry your robot xylophone on a cart with.
Yes.
Yeah. In the battery pack.
Yeah. I'm actually looking to try to mount it on some wood or something, because right now, it's kind of I'm afraid to move it. Because I basically finished assembling it, put it there, and everything's in like the perfect position. So I need to figure out how to get a little bit more stable so that it can be, put away for safekeeping and things.
So Liz, for that notification thing that you have, how on earth are you telling it that you've cleared the notification? I could see like tapping into a text thing, but how are you streaming that back? That's super cool.
So there is a library in Circuit. A lot of that's being taken care of in the library in CircuitPython, because there's basically an Apple notification services library component.
Okay.
And the way that the code's set up is it's checking to see if there's a new notification, and then when it sees that there's no active notifications, that's why it will clear out.
Cool.
So yeah, but there's a lot you can do with that library. Like what I'm doing with just the light and everything, that's real basic. So you can definitely build on that.
Cool. That's awesome. Like see what app the notification came from and stuff?
Yeah, and there's some built-in things where you can have a notification come in, and on the REPL, it will give you like the Apple notification ID like name in the notification center, because it's all these weird proprietary names depending on the app. And so you can almost kind of sniff it out, and then you can build up your code to like look for that app ID.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's just the right amount of hacky. You got to like suss out what the ID is for the thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, because I couldn't find a publicly listed like thing that would tell you like the app ID. So if anyone knows a resource like that, let me know. But from what I could tell, you really had to just compile a list, and depending on the different projects in the Learn system, like there are a lot that have been identified, but definitely not every app.
So cool to have a groundbreaking reason to expand the capabilities of your project. I know that's a fun motivation, something that's like, oh, nobody's ever documented this in an easy to digest way. It makes it seem more worthwhile.
Yeah. And when I first started working on this, like it was a little bit above my head, because I'd never really done stuff with the Bluetooth and the Apple notifications and everything. But then once you get into it, like it's pretty cool, like all the things that are there. And I liked documenting it because I'm hoping people can then build on that and be able to understand what's really going on underneath.
I'm so happy to see the xylophone project finished, which is kind of I don't know. I've been trying to think of how to say that without it sounding a little bit mean. It's not that way at all. It's I know you've been working so long on it that it's great to see it finished.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I am also glad to see it finished.
I recommend you upload a video of it playing the Animal Crossing theme for maximum fame tokens.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a few covers planned. I'm going to start recording those out pretty soon. So.
I'm pretty poor at like longer term projects. Like I'm real sort of the squirrel from what is that from? Even it's up, is it? Like just squirrel. Oh, that thing. I'm going to that now. Like it's in Stephen's like pick and place project. Same thing. Like that's been going on a long time now. Like I'm useless at that. So I applaud all of you.
Well, you need little bits in between, right? Like Liz has got other projects going on while she's working on that, because you got to be able to put it down and pick it back up. And then it's like 8 different projects.
Yeah. And I stepped away in like November from that and didn't revisit it again until like February, just because I needed a break after I'd had some unfortunate PCB manufacturing instances with it. So I need to like step away and be like, okay, reset. And that's also why I switched over to CircuitPython for this instance. I still want to do a Raspberry Pi version and have it be like hardwired MIDI and everything, but this was a good like kind of first step into it.
Right. Yeah, that's super cool. I'm looking forward to those covers. That's going to be awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also jealous that you're working with Noe, because he's such a dream.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I remember when I used to work at Adafruit, I would literally like draw a sketch on a Post-it note and hold it up to the webcam, and he would take a screenshot, and then like he would design files, and then he would send them to the guy who sat next to the 3D printer, who would then print them and bring them over to my desk. So I would literally like hold a sketch up to a webcam, and a 3D print would like show up at my desk the next day.
What?
Oh, right, because they're not in New York, right? They're
No,
in
they would
Florida.
they would design it, and then they'd send the files, and we'd print them out. But the printer happened to not be next to my desk, so that was a real, and like it was always just such an awesome experience. So
Yeah,
cool.
well, even the guitar headstock graphic, like I just said like, oh, I just want it to like look like a headstock, and then he designed like the logo and everything, and he did it in like hours. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Like,
yeah, those guys are both super talented and
Yeah.
lovely humans.
yes.
Liz showed so much stuff that I'm afraid I missed some of it in terms of like talking back to it. There was so much cool things that I'm like, wow.
had 3
what
projects,
else did she
right?
show?
The
Oh, there's
bell,
word
the
tree.
xylophone, the notifier, and the guitar tuner.
Yeah, and then just and the tap tempo, and then
Oh yeah, that's the one I missed.
resized
See?
tempo.
I completely forgot.
big deal,
about the
5
Solver
projects.
thing. Yeah, no big deal.
That's awesome.
Great
But
work,
to be
Liz.
fair, for a lot of them, I just wrote the code and like collabed on the circuit, like work with Noe, like this one, and
Yeah.
this was just a remix. So don't think I'm going like nuts over here.
You're doing
Don't worry,
great,
we do
Liz.
think you're always fun.
I'm envious of your progress.
Okay, well, since everyone seems blown away by Liz's update, I will volunteer to go next, so that nobody has to volunteer to follow her act.
Oh, no.
Who didn't set her up to start out in the first place? I don't have 4 projects to show, but I can show a couple things. So this, what's been next to me, is my latest build tutorial about this affirmation mirror. So an affirmation mirror, for those of you who don't know, is like when you write big swirly letters on your mirror in your bathroom that says like live, laugh, love, or like family is everything. I didn't grow up in a house like that, but I maybe I should have, because I have like a negative self dialogue, and the which is pretty common for nerds, I think. But so what it does is it prints off happy or affirming statements, in this case like quotes by famous people who are you're able to look up to and listen to their words of wisdom while you're looking at yourself in the face. So it's like literally telling you nice things to think while you're looking at yourself in the face. And it is just these alphanumeric display backpacks to this circuit is I made like a small version and a big version. It's the mirror portion is here, I'll make myself big. I'm also running the stream here. Okay. It is like a 2-way mirror glass or plastic that I ordered online, and then you see how you can see through it there. I put like black tape everywhere that's not the display, so that the display shines out, and then the rest of it is just reflective, so you don't see, because it's a shadow box to make up the volume, and you don't want like it to be like a double image. So this whole circuit can fit in there. And the USB cable just comes out the side. It's run by a Node MCU, because I always hope I'm going to make internet code to go with it, and then I end up like not, and then I ask Brian for help. Brian, I have an ESP8266 project idea, and that's one of my updates, is a project that I haven't hardly done any work on yet that Brian is helping. But it's just it could also be made with a teensy. So when I published it, not a teensy, what is it? A trinket. And so when I published it, I published both circuits in the hopes that I could get some kind of internet activity working, like just pull from a quotes database, in order to like have a feed. And I knew I could do it with if this, then that, and Adafruit IO, which is like, the thing is, it's like I've done that recipe together for so many projects that I really wanted it to be simpler than that. I wanted it to just go to the internet and fetch the quotes, and I couldn't make it work, but I tried, and I will continue to work on it, but I needed to get it out the door. So it went out without the fancy code. Full disclosure, I only ever finished any project like 80% of the way, because I wrote an article about it for the Hackspace magazine last issue.
Oh, nice.
Is are all the quotes stored in the firmware, or is there like an SD card on there that pulls them off, or can you squeeze them all into just like a string in the code?
Yeah, they're stored as strings.
That's awesome.
Because there's only like 15 right now, and like you could probably fit 100 or more without having to use any external storage.
Yeah.
So yes, they are all just hard coded in there, and they're all also, I made them all in all caps because I think they look better on the display. I don't really love the way the lowercase letters are represented on the alphanumeric displays. But I made 2 versions to see if I made the bigger version because the smaller version didn't look good in still photographs. The smaller version looks fine in video. Like the scroll, you don't need 3 alphanumeric displays to make a legible. You don't need to be able to see the whole word at once in order to read it. Your brain can accommodate. But I was trying to take photos of it, and it was like you couldn't even see a complete word or
right. Yeah.
And so this I made the bigger version to when I got the green light for the magazine article, so that because I was like, oh, it's going to have to be in print with a photo, so I'm going to make a bigger one with 3 so that you can at least get a couple words in a still photo. But I still think it looks way better on video. And I use it all the time. Speaking of things that you make and use, I have mirrors around my office to check my hair and check my mask when I'm leaving the house, and it actually genuinely helps. I didn't think it would, but like having Michelle Obama tell me I am enough unironically makes me feel better about myself.
Nice. I mean, it's really nice.
So that's my big project that I didn't finish it in the last month, but it's my most recent project that y'all might have not seen. And then the other updates are that I finally finished installing the ham radio antenna on my roof, which I shot video for in early March. And so here's my radio. It's like one of these little Baofeng Chinese radios, and handheld radio, and it comes with a little antenna. But I'm on like a low floor, and there's some taller buildings around me. And so we found that like in order for the closest repeater to hear me, I have to be outside on my little this little back awkward patio thing. That's not a patio because that is a window, not a door. And awkward roof spot, very New York City, I realized. But it would have to be out there or on the roof in order to reach the repeater, and with my handheld antenna. So that was good as if the weather was nice, but what if it was raining or cold and I still wanted to listen to or check in to any of the ham radio activities that are going on? I needed an antenna that would stay outside so that I could have the radio inside. So I think it was early March or late February. My friend David and I both put the same antenna on each of our roofs. So we did like 2 antenna installations. I don't remember the exact date, but it was like right before he like left the city to go quarantine with his parents and hasn't come back yet. And so it was like right before everything shut down, we put up our ham radio antennas, and I didn't get a chance to ground it yet though. So like I've had the video sitting in my Final Cut edit for like since then. And I even have a part where I'm on camera saying like a few weeks ago, and I'm going to have to be like months because it was months ago, not weeks ago now, that I put it up at first. And it's really cool though. It was like screwed all together, has these like radials that come out the bottom that are wider than the radials that come out the side. And we were lucky that there was an antenna pole on our roof already. It had like an old school analog TV antenna on it. And so we just have to like take that off, it was a little rusted and stuff. So we had to do a little cutting, but not too much. It came right down. And then we were able to put the antenna right on top of the pole. Whereas at my friend's house, he didn't have an antenna pole. So he bought like a kit where it, that comes with like these metal straps, and you strap it to a chimney because he had a chimney on his roof that he could attach it to. So really cool. Ran the like 75-foot cable down from the roof down to this window right next to me. And I'm going to cut a very small channel in the window frame to accommodate for this little cable to go out there. And yesterday and this week, I did the final grounding work. So when I was editing the video, I was like, let me just check safety, which is usually something I do in edit, not during production. Admittedly, I'm like, I usually know about safety while I'm in production. And then I don't get into, I just am just checking due diligence, but like, I don't know a lot about ham radio. And I was just checking the lightning. I was like, what are the lightning trolls going to say about my setup here? And then also my friend who knows more about radio than me should have told me that grounding your antenna is a really important thing. I'm not the tallest building around, so it's not like a genuine, I don't know that the lightning risk is super high, but you don't want to bring a lightning bolt into your house, into your battery powered device. So I got that B-roll of the grounding wires and the grounding clamps, and now I can finish that video about several months ago when I put a ham radio antenna on my roof, and now they can hear me crystal clear on the local repeater. So
when you say you got that B-roll, did you just get somebody else doing it, like a different installation completely? Like, it'd be so funny if it's like just a guy's hand putting in the crown straps or something like.
Have you seen that YouTube video, Brian? You it's a fake ad for a video company saying like, we got that B-roll. Like, you need college students at the park, businessman making a deal. We got that B-roll. It's a very funny video.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought when you worded it kind of strangely. You didn't say I
Yeah.
re-recorded that part. You're like, I got that B-roll.
I acquired footage that tells the story.
I was quoting the funny video when I said I got that B-roll, so that's why I said it funny. I got the B-roll of me grounding the antenna, which is in the script now. Like, I went to write the voiceover script, do the last bit of research, was like, oh no, I left out the grounding part. And I put it in my script. It was like, and then you ground the antenna. And I needed the B-roll.
I have kind of like an Andy from Parks and Rec moment. I don't know about X, and at this point I'm too afraid to ask. What do people do with ham radio? Like, I have literally
It's a very good
no
question,
idea.
Brian. It's a very good question. They just say hi to each other.
That's a good enough
That's
reason.
fair. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It's mostly what it is. There's like saying hi to each other in a synchronous fashion, like we're doing right now. There is also saying hi to each other with a message that's called a radiogram that can be relayed from multiple people to get further away than you could reach with your own broadcast
that's cool.
range.
So,
Did not know
like,
that exists.
is that
Cool.
like,
like a
you
telegram.
say to Bleeptrack, and then to Timon, then to Liz, then to me, then to Stephen? Like, is it literally relayed by person? Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
Right, like radio club.
wow.
So I'll give you
Okay.
I join like a traffic net. Traffic nets are where they exchange the traffic, which are the radiograms, and they'll have everyone. Andy Calloway says breaker breaker. That's not ham radio. That's CB radio, and the ham radio people for some reason really look down on the CB radio people. I think maybe because they're mostly truck drivers, but breaker breaker is CB radio. So I've heard most of the traffic I've heard on the traffic net I've listened to is like radio clubs, which are like kids sending radiograms, and the content of the radiogram is something like, everyone should learn radio. It is fun. Like, it's really quite benign. The messages are quite benign, but I will say that although it is primarily for people to say hi to each other and then describe how hard it was for them to say hi to each other, because you'd be like, oh, I'm using tropospheric propagation and a solar flare to like talk to someone who's further away. Like, where are you from? Oh, you're from so far away. Look at how smart we are.
It's a flex.
A little bit of a flex. Yeah. You want to make context from far away. That's like a fun thing for hams to say they've done. But one of the main purposes is emergency preparedness. So although they spend a long time saying hi to each other, the real purpose is that they're practicing saying hi to each other so that they can relay more important information, emergency information, if the phone networks go down. So like in Puerto Rico, for example, after the hurricane, hams traveled to Puerto Rico to set up radio stations to like relay emergency needs information about like rural parts, and actually made like significant infrastructure assistance in
That's really cool.
disaster recovery. So for me, it's it's fun with technology, and like, ooh, you get to learn about wavelengths and actually do some math in relation to your physical hardware. But also it's that like peace of mind that you know how to use every type of communication that there is on the planet, so that if you needed to, you could. But I've also heard that people are using these Baofeng radios at the protests a lot lately because they're not trackable like your cell phone. And they have like a line of sight that could have up to a 2-mile range. I don't get that here in the city. I get about a block. But with so much concrete around, but still, if communicating a block away, and then if somebody else is a block away from you, like, it's pretty good in a dense protest situation. So
it's kind of like making your own ISP. Like you're making your own network. You're relying on all the other peers to relay the information across. I didn't realize that's how it works.
Almost as if the internet is somehow conceptually based on.
Is it really?
I mean, like it's all nets, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all, I mean, the cell phone network, the whole way we communicate wirelessly. Yeah. So it's fun, but it mainly is like middle-aged men, which is tough. Like there's not a lot of fun people to talk to in my experience. Like when I get on, they all treat me super special, and that like wears off really quickly. They even have, what do they call it? Young ladies, YL, yeah, YLs on the radio. Like they're like, oh, if you're a YL, you get like, people are always like, a lady has appeared, and I don't love that. So, but my friend, but
That's
with
always
your
been my vibe
friends,
from it.
like that's like the hams who sit and talk every day on the radio. But if you have friends who also get into ham radio at the same time as you can talk to them. Why do you think we put antennas on our roofs so we could try to talk like directly to each other? We're too far away, and we're both like, our buildings are both too short. But we are able now to talk to each other via the repeater in the Bronx. So that's, which we couldn't do before. So that's a pretty cool thing. Once he comes back from being
that was another thing that like occurred to me during like your update, was like the logistics of like doing that stuff in a city is nuts. Like, is it? I couldn't
but
even imagine.
you don't have a homeowners association telling you can't have a visible antenna on your building. That's for sure. Like nobody cares about that.
I also felt sorry for the poor person who was watching their analog TV, and now you cut down their antenna. Did you say you cut down their antenna?
The analog TV that they were wirelessly connected to on a what you call it, a protocol that doesn't exist anymore.
Maybe.
I was gonna ask if your landlord knows that you have the antenna, like that you went up onto the roof and like mounted it up there.
No, but
it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
Totally.
Right.
Also, like we're good tenants, and we're responsible. It's not dangerous. It's properly done. It's probably less dangerous than the thing that was dangling up there to begin with. But I also don't think that he'll notice. Because
is it typical to get roof access?
You can usually, well, it depends on the size of the building. I live in a kind of smaller building, so it's easier to get on the roof when it's a smaller building. In bigger buildings, they sometimes have like an alarm door to go to the roof, and they don't want people hanging out up there. But no, my upstairs neighbors have exclusive access to the roof, and it's built out like a patio, and it's really nice. And they let me go up there when I have special projects to do, like film some B-roll for my project, whether it is ham radio related or not, and do this antenna project.
I was imagining you like picking a lock to the the roof door and like sneaking up in the middle of the night to like bolt your antenna onto the roof.
There's something that you don't know about me yet, and that's I don't do ladders. So if it involves a ladder, I'm not doing it. This did not involve me on a ladder. The ladder, I made my boyfriend do the ladder part, but he, to be fair, does laddering semi-professionally as a lighting and camera person. So yeah, I don't do ladders, and so to get on the roof, it's just stairs. Some of the roofs in New York City are like what you described, but not mine.
I feel like such a naive, like country person. You know, the way like there might be a kind of a reputation that like say Irish people have like are kind of backwards or whatever in terms of like, oh, you've internet or whatever. Like when it comes to stuff like cities, like how roofs, how you can get access to buildings. Like I lived out in the country my entire life. I've like barely ever lived in an apartment, never a multi-story apartment. Like it's just nuts to me. Yeah. My
upstairs neighbor got a foster dog yesterday and called me and said, Becky, I need your help because the dog's never seen stairs before and she won't go down them. They got her up there. She went up the stairs, but she couldn't come back down.
That's the wrong direction to have it be. You should always be able to get downstairs, but not be able to get up them again.
If you were a dog who didn't know what stairs were, wouldn't it be easier to climb than to like? She was scared of the.
That's true. Yeah.
I get that.
Fall. She did fine. She's gonna be okay. But she's a country bumpkin. She's like driven up from the south, and she's never been to a city or seen stairs before.
Oh, poor thing.
I might be like that too. Who knows?
Brian, I know. You upstairs?
I have stairs. I have stairs. This is a stair. This is the upstairs. Yeah.
All right.
I think it also depends on the country. Like in Germany, we don't have roof access ever. Basically, I never seen that. Like it's always very closed off, and don't really have shared rooms or something.
Well, here it definitely depends on the building. Like if your building has a kind of fragile roof, like nobody's going to let you on it because they don't want to fix it when it starts leaking. Yeah, we're fortunate enough. I mean, it's a selling point if you can turn it into a patio, obviously. But yeah, we're just going to wait and see if he notices. And then once he notices, we'll deal with it. I don't think he's going to have a problem with it. Also, like there was like a little bit of a plaster repair that we accidentally bumped when we were doing the antenna and we like fixed it. So like there's really no we leave things better than we find them. It's cool. We love our building. So the other project before I turn it over, and I'll ask Brian to transition to next, just because this project is an overlap project. I had this idea. This idea has been sitting on this Post-it note on my wall over here for a while, and I finally emailed Brian about it, and now it's basically done. It's called Slack Status Updater, and I have this thing. I talk to my coworkers on Slack every day. It's our main synchronous communication tool besides video chat to get stuff done, and but often I will like get up to go for a walk with the dog and only be gone 15 minutes and forget to set my Slack status to something else. Setting your Slack status involves looking at the Slack window. So I'll often get dragged back into a message with like, I was looking for a way to set my status that didn't involve me looking at the Slack window. And I'm envisioning like this knob on the front of my iMac that's just like, set it to dog. And then like it sets my Slack status so everyone knows that I'm just on a quick dog walk and I'll be right back. So if I don't respond right away, like they can know that they'll get a message from me within the next half an hour or something. And also the more sinister part of this that I think might be appealing to the rest of the internet is that the Slack client requires to be connected to the server in order to set your presence or your like active status, your like green orb versus your like offline orb. And so if I'm like sitting here sewing masks or like working on a project and my computer and I haven't typed anything in a while and my computer goes to sleep or the display goes to sleep and it logs me out, it sets my Slack status to offline. And I would love it to have a internet connected device, like a standalone circuit that I could just set it to active and know that it's going to stay that way, even if I am like, I don't want to give my coworkers the false impression that I'm not at my desk. But also, I think the rest of the internet would be interested in it because it allows you to fool Slack into thinking you are at your desk. So I emailed Brian, and Brian was like, "Oh yeah, I am working on," because like we've worked together. He's made those awesome Arduino libraries for like getting stats from Instagram and YouTube, and none of them use OAuth. They all like just somehow get the bearer token, or like but there was this OAuth. Kind of, I saw it as like a wall, like Brand was struggling with OAuth or didn't want to, it was hard. And when I emailed him about this project, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm working on something for Spotify that's really similar." And I already have like code in my inbox that I need to try out on the circuit. So that's awesome, Brian. Even though you don't use Slack, I really appreciate it. I will do my best to service the library, and I will turn it over to you for your update.
Well, I just want to start by saying I've got some bad news for you because you can't set it as active. You can set it as inactive or automatic. And if you set it to automatic and you're active, you're moving your mouse or whatever, it'll take the active part. But we could talk about.
Well, yeah, I want to know like what what qualifies as active, and can the device like because it has its own connection to the internet, can it
be the active
somehow
thing?
Be active? Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the device works as an application, but we can possibly do something else around this. I think we'll be fine.
Well, I'm excited to build a big knob for my Slack status updater, even if it doesn't convince people I'm not at my desk when I'm at my desk.
Yeah. Do any of your coworkers watch your channel? Because do you want to give away the secret sauce of how you're keeping your status active?
I mean, Brian, like I publish stuff on
Instructables,
which is where I work. So no, I'm pretty sure they would all just get a big kick out of it. We all use Slack. It's fine.
Well, the thing that immediately popped to my head is if you used like an ESP32 or something, maybe you could also make it connect to your Mac as a Bluetooth HID device and make it like wiggle your mouse.
Okay, that's pretty sneaky.
So that might work too. So just to give a really quick demo of that, screen share plus desk. Okay, so this is Slack. I did use Slack previously. I just don't use it too much anymore. So the status thing, this is their presence. And if you see there, it just got set to away for me. That was done on my ESP8266. So it's making a call to Slack's API every 10 seconds. So it's after setting it back to auto there again. And actually it'd be that one. And I also wrote some code to set this thing to. It's not doing it at the moment in this example, but I am the first status, and then the example I wrote changes it to something else to be I am the second status. So yeah, that's been done like directly on the ESP straight to Slack. And there's a little small bit of setup to get it working, but it's really not that big of a deal actually. So I was pretty happy with how that worked out. So that is a library at the moment. It needs to be tidied up a small bit in terms of the README and stuff, but it's there, available for people to use. So like, even, you know, if Becky wanted to change it to be something like, you know, when you pick up the dog collar or something, it automatically sets the dog one. That might be kind of cool too, you know, as in like, it doesn't have to be just a button. It could literally anything that receives inputs on your ESP, you could trigger the messages on. So yeah, that's pretty much it with that one. A fun project. Like I can do the integrating with API stuff like okay, but I often don't have any application for it. So like yeah, I was happy that there was already an application for this in mind. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that whenever it comes out. Yes. So that was that project. The other thing that Becky mentioned that I was working on was a Spotify API library for the ESP8266 and ESP32. So it won't play music. Like, that's not what it's for. It's to be a remote for the Spotify. So like, I don't know if people use Spotify that much, but like, if you're playing it on your PC, if you take out your phone and you're connected to the same account, like, you can change the song and stuff on your phone while it's still coming out your speakers on your PC. Well, I want to do the same thing for an Arduino, basically. So like, this was the first first screenshot of it, where like, I was able to pull back the song that I was listening to. And I also have it like skipping songs now, and that you can set like where to jump to in the track. So the idea behind this is my daughter listens to a lot of like the Frozen soundtracks on the Amazon device that I don't want to name on Spotify, and she's like, Dada, 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 I want that song again. I want that song again. And I just really want a thing that she can just press a button and it will play that song again.
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
yeah, because I don't know if it's just Spotify on that device, but you can't, like, as you're coming to an end of a song, you can't say start the song again. You have to like go, okay, next song, okay, previous song, you know, so it's kind of a mess. So I would be really happy if she just was able to like look after herself in that regard. So yeah,
Self-soothe is what that's called, right? You want her to self-soothe.
As long as it comes with a set of headphones, so you don't have to listen to the same song on repeat for forever.
Okay. I'll just walk out. I actually, to be honest, like, some of the music she listens to is quite good. But even like, there's some bands that I like that she's like, oh, I want to listen to that song or whatever. So there's one band that I really enjoy called Angels and Airwaves. It's one of the guys from Blink-182 set it up. To be honest, I know it's like not the best music in the world, but like, I have like vivid memories of like listening to it while I lived in New York for a few months. Like, as in, listening to one of their albums like just reminds me of like walking up the steps of a subway station when it was a nice day and just seeing like all these really high buildings and stuff. And but she loves one of the songs, The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves, and she just literally spins for like the entire song. And I nearly get sick looking at her, just because, like, how are you not so dizzy? But like, she literally would like listen to that song on repeat, just spinning, and I'm like, wow, this is nuts. So yeah, that's another thing. I've been working on those on my live streams. So I stream on Monday nights for me, and like, it's kind of funny, like anytime I have like a spare like half an hour or something to work on things, like I kind of want to work on this, but I feel like I'd be doing the people who've enjoyed it the streams like wrong by working on it. I feel like I'd nearly be like cheating on them if I worked on it without them, because like I've been getting some really good help while I was doing the streams and everything. So that's actually pretty close to being done. So it does work. What's missing is getting the authentication token. Like you can get one from their kind of demo version of the API, but it only lasts like 30 minutes or something. So that's no good. So there's probably like one stream worth of work left in it. So yeah, looking forward to finishing that. And then the last thing that I've been working on, is something I'm calling my Flexi Friend. So you can see a copious amount of hot glue here. Let me just try focus this up a little bit better. 1 second. There we go. Okay, you can see a copious amount of hot glue here, but what it is, so I have a TS100 soldering iron, and these normally get powered from a barrel jack connector, and they take between 12 and 24 volts. And somebody was talking about, somebody made one where they replaced like the USB connector in it with a USB-C connector and use something called power delivery, which is like what your MacBook uses, or your Switch, or loads of different things uses this USB-C power delivery. And that can do like 20 volts at pretty high ampage. And I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool to... So this guy, Jan, who replaced the entire board, like it's a complete replacement board for it with its own firmware and everything. And it's a super awesome project. It's called the Otter Iron, if anybody wants to look it up. But I was thinking that I would like to have the convenience of being able to power it from USB-C, like using my Mac charger or whatever. But I also didn't want to have to like build a complete new circuit for in here. And another thing that I didn't want either is, like, say the cable for my Mac charger isn't that flexible and it's quite heavy. So what I wanted to do was, you can get these like battery cables specifically for the TS100 that are like super flexible, and they are like silicone as well, so they can, or at least sort of silicone, and maybe they're not, that they can withstand a bit of heat as well. So like if you accidentally touched off it, it won't just melt your charger. So yeah, I've built a circuit design which is hidden beneath the hot glue because this is very bodged. But what it is it has a chip on it that negotiates with the charger to say, hey, I want 20 volts. And if the charger can provide 20 volts, it does that. And so I then connected into this battery wire that I got, and here is my TS100 being powered off my MacBook charger.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, what's really cool about that as well is like you can get power banks that have USB-C power delivery on them as well. So like I can now power my soldering iron from a power bank, and like have a portable soldering iron like anywhere without having to plug it in to you know, like I want to say electricity, but that's not right, into like mains or whatever, mains electricity. So yeah, I've been working on that one for a while. So I've ordered the replacement board for this that doesn't have this need for hot glue on it. So yeah, that's a project I've been working on for a bit, and will probably continue to work on for a while. But yeah, I'm enjoying working with that one too.
How tricky was it getting the power delivery set? Because I've wanted to use USB-C, but the idea of like having to do that whole arbitration thing with the power supply scares me. Like I've just kind of stayed away from it because I didn't want to deal with it.
With this board, really easy. So it's using an IC called the IP2721, and it's like a 60 or 70 cent IC, and depending on how you configure the like circuit of it, it tells it whether it wants 20 volts or 15 volts or 5 volts. So like actually if I just plug that in again.
So it's just like a resistor, like it's just pulling up a pin or something on it?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
the Mac charger can't do 15 volts, but so this is after getting 20 volts here. If I flick this switch, it will do the negotiation again. And so the IC is requesting 15 volts, but the Mac charger can't actually do 15 volts. So it's giving it the next, like the IC goes, okay, I'll take the next highest voltage you can give me.
Yeah.
And it's 9. But if I plugged it into the power bank, which I'll do now, the power bank will do 15 volts. So like there it is, taking 15 volts.
Wow.
So this IC is pretty dumb, though. It doesn't do anything with current. So like USB-C power delivery does support kind of negotiating the current as well. It's not it's not, you can't go, hey, only give me 2 amps. It's more, can you give me 2 amps? Like I have a need for 2 amps at 20 volts. Can you give me that? And if the charger says no, then it goes, okay, I don't want it. Like, which is actually quite important for something like a soldering iron, because this has a fixed load, like an 8.5 ohm resistor. So, and it has a variable amount of voltage it supports. So if it can't provide enough amps at 20 volts, like it might work at a lower voltage because it'll have a lower amp requirement, because it's just Ohm's law. Like as in it needs at 20 volts, it needs like 2.35 amps, but at 15 volts, it only needs 1.8. So like it's, that's what the switch is for, that if people have a power supply that can't provide enough amps at 20 volts, you can flick down to the 15. I was also playing with another IC it's a lot more expensive, and it would be a lot more involved for like a product that like it does the negotiation where, like, if you can't give it that 2.35 amps that I just talked about, it will take 20 volts off the table automatically and drop down to 15. While with this one, it will try take 20 volts, and then when you turn your soldering iron on, it will try draw too much current and your charger will just turn off. Hopefully not go on fire. That's my only worry about that one. So yeah, that's what I've been working on.
I want that set up for my my motorcycle tool bag. Quick little hot solder job. Don't worry, officer, I will fix my headlight.
A lot better than those propane powered ones. They're super cool. Have you guys seen those? The ones that have the literal like flame heating up.
Are they
love it.
propane or are they butane? Because I find that if you leave it for a long time without using it, if it has even a tiny bit of a leak, the butane will all evaporate, and then you'll be stuck with an empty lighter.
I didn't realize Becky was Hank Hill. I don't know. Is that relevant anymore? I can't even remember which one he was like really like.
I love that show. Brian, can you pick who goes next?
Yeah, let's go for Bleeptrack. She's directly above me, so I can point to that without figuring out my left from right.
Yeah, nice. I have 2 small projects to show. And Becky, if you maybe could show my screen, I'm sharing that on StreamYard. I'm not sure if this is possible. Yeah, perfect.
I got it.
So,
thanks. I just clicked add.
Awesome.
I saw it the whole time, but I really see it now.
Nice. Okay. So first project is maybe not too much in the making department, but I think it's worth showing that. So learning stuff, and I love to use pen plotters. I have a deep love for pen plotters, so I always thought it would be nice to have a combination of some machine learning, scribbly AI that can draw stuff and put that later on a pen plotter. So this is basically some part of the software side. And if you have a look at recent machine learning stuff, most image generation is done on pixel-based images, like photographs from your smartphone, and not on vector graphics. And vector graphics are super important to put them later on the pen plotter. So what I have here is like you have 2 template images, like this one, this curly one and this boxy one. And this AI thing can do some auto-completion on lines. So I can start a line here and it will complete the line in the curly manner. So it's only trained on basically one image. It's also quite interesting to see because usually you have really large data sets that are used. And
that's very cool.
there are also like different, I'm experimenting with different stuff. Like this one works more like stamps. So I don't start a line and the AI finishes, but here I just say draw something here. So I can like do curly stamps around. And I
That
think
is
it would
so
be super
cool.
fun.
So it trained on one single image, like no further data set. Wow.
Yeah, basically, like it does create a data set, but from that one image. So I do basically a data set augmentation, if that's the right word.
How does that work? Like,
so because it's I think it's a bit tricky because if you had pixel data, you would have a lot more information because you have RGB values and a lot more data, and vector graphics are very sparse in data. So I take the image and basically to every transformation I can do without breaking relationships between the paths. Like I can scale it, I can rotate it, I can move it, and I can reverse the line direction, for example. And from these transformations, I create a data set so that each image looks a bit different, and then I can train on that.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is insanely cool. So you're going to plot these out?
Yeah, I should have prepared some images. I posted them on Twitter. Like I did plot too, but I think it would be super awesome to have like the pen plotter on one side and a piece of paper on the other side, so that someone can go there, draw something. AI trains. It should not work. Should not take too long. Trains on that image and then creates like a derivative image. That would be super fun, but not sure how to scan or how to record the drawing from the person. I mean, it's easy with a Wacom tablet maybe. But also would be nice. It would also be drawn on paper, maybe. But I think there's also these Wacom pens that can record your strokes while you draw on an actual paper. I don't know. That's the idea I have in mind. It's quite far away because this is like this auto-completion stuff is currently part of my research. So I'm
the GML, the Graffiti Research Lab guys made an app.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking like backlight, like you have a light attached to the pen, and then you have a transparent surface with the paper on it, and then you have a camera on the other side, and so
they can track it. Yeah, that would
track it.
Might work, that would be super fun, I think. So yeah, like that's the not so makey part, and now maybe to the more makey part. So I'm currently planning on making generative PCBs, and I want these PCBs to act like a small keyboard with 3 capacitive touch buttons. So I wrote, and I showed this last time when I was on MakerCast like 2 months ago. I wrote this planet generator, so it can make funny little planets, and these planets should become the touch buttons. So I'm now in the next iteration part where I basically wrote a whole generator for the part of the PCB, basically. So I hope it works. Yeah. Don't get confused by the colors because I need them to distinguish where I want on which layer I want it placed on the PCB. Because, for example, these purple swirls in the background, they should go on the copper layer and they will vanish under the solder mask. So they will just shine through a bit, for example. And the planets will be gold coated, and the largest stars will have nothing at all. They will be just the PCB through them. And I experimented on how to get that into KiCad, and I found a plugin, an Inkscape plugin that is called PCB to Shenzhen or something like that. And that works quite well because you can just take a shape, put it on a certain layer, and then export it as a footprint to KiCad. And now I also have my KiCad 3D thing open, but I think I need to redo the sharing maybe.
Well, I can
screen share the other thing. 1 second. KiCad 3D viewer, that's the thing. So this is basically what it should turn out. I hope at least that it does.
Wow.
So this is what it will look like.
So it's literally exporting like files into KiCad. So it's an actual board that you
Sort
could go
of,
in and
yeah,
edit in
with that-
KiCad?
Yeah. So it exports a footprint that's basically and then I can just go into KiCad and switch them out because I want to make a whole bunch of different PCBs and just say switch the footprint to another generated one, and the whole like tracing MCU part stays as it is. And then I went into a problem because I wanted to fab the PCB at Osh Park with the purple one, and also with that After Dark one. It works a bit different. So you have the copper layer and you have a transparent layer of solder mask. And so I need to place some parts on different layers. So I had to write an extra function on my generator that it sorts the shapes on the matching layers for each design. So I have 2 versions now, and I hope that I could show them in the stream, but they have not arrived yet. They have been manufactured, they're on their way, but still in the post, and I hope that they will come to me next week.
I can't. This is super cool. I love them. I can't get my head around designing for those After Dark ones, like the artistic things. I just got my head around, like, you know, oh, you don't want to put the solder mask there, and you don't want to do. But then the After Dark thing just completely changes the rules with it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know anymore how to do this. I should just order
I'm
something.
Sure I made a horrible mistake somewhere, because when you upload your Gerber files to Osh Park, you get the preview, but the preview also only matches basically the purple version and not the After Dark version. So I tried to check if it really fits, and I hope it does. I'm not sure. I think the unboxing will be very, very surprising.
This is definitely like closing the door after the horse has bolted, but apparently you can like get in touch with them on Twitter or email them to ask for a render of the After Dark one, and they'll give it to you.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, wow.
Good to know. Okay, good to know.
I've been meaning to get like a little token board that just has like every combination of silkscreen solder mask, copper, you know, like front and back, just to have like that's the color I want. This is what you know, just follow the instructions like that. But
like paint chips.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like
PCB paint chips.
Sophie Wong has that keychain of 3D printed filament material samples that she like printed in all of the different filaments, so she can like see the texture. You have one too.
This is actually for I got this at SuperCon. Someone gave me this. It's pretty much that, but for I think it's one board shop. I think this is JLC, and it's just pretty much what we were just describing with all the different colors that they have. It's pretty useful, but it would be nice to have one for After Dark.
Yeah,
For sure.
I know we got a tweet at Drew, right? I'm pretty sure Drew's the one.
Yeah, actually, I was in contact
back to
with
you on
him.
Twitter.
I haven't asked.
That's PDP7. Yeah,
Yeah.
Drew Festini. He's a great guy.
Is that is your code for that going to be available somewhere? Because I just want to put fancy, cool stuff on my circuit boards now using that. If it's something that you're releasing.
Yeah. I'm planning to release it. Currently, it's quite a mess. So the planets are, at least I posted them in the chat last time, because they're just a script on paper.js that's easy to share. I can post it in the chat later on. But the other thing is not published yet, but I can put them on GitHub maybe if it's a bit more polished and readable.
No,
Cool.
publish early and often.
Yeah. The saying in software development is if you're not embarrassed by what you released, you've released too late.
Yes, I agree. I firmly agree.
That's a good one.
I really like
Like
that.
that.
And Bleeptrack, is there you said there are going to be like cap touch buttons. Is there like a project that these are kind of working towards too, beyond the amazing art that I'm very into?
To use them to control some OBS functions, maybe like to switch some camera angles, or so like as silent keys, because I have a mechanical keyboard here which is quite loud, and I think it's nice to have some silent keys somewhere hidden where you can.
I have the same problem. I'm running some Cherry Blues, so yeah, very cool.
I'm on my Cherry Clear. Are the blues stickier than the clears? I also got RSI. I can't be too hardcore.
I've never played with the clears, but the blues are that really I can type like. They're got that really like.
They're one of the loud ones, right? Because they have like
they're very loud.
They have the different like hardnesses, but then each hardness has like a soft and a loud version, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
I just can't get used to how high up my fingers need to be when I'm typing. I feel like I'm typing on the side of a mountain. I like them to be like flat with the table, you know?
You'll get
I
used
love
to
the
it whenever
sound.
you use, right? Like when I
guess.
go to touch somebody else's laptop keyboard, I'm like, where is all the depth in this keyboard? Yeah. I feel like I'm typing on a keyboard that is like just a puddle of water.
Yeah.
I really don't get keyboard love. Like, as in, I appreciate people like their keyboards and stuff, and I'm cool with that. Like that is a very fancy keyboard or whatever. But like, I don't know. I'm just using this like €20 one that I got like 5 years ago. And like, even
if it ain't broke,
like,
don't fix it.
I posted a picture of my MacBook recently online for whatever reason, and it's a 2016 MacBook Pro, so it's the new type of keys, and they're like, oh, they've got those terrible travel on the keyboard, and I'm like, okay, like, I don't know, like I have a 2014 one in work, and maybe it's a little bit better, but I don't really care. Like, it's you know. I just don't care. Like, unless it's physically uncomfortable for me, I just don't care.
I'm kind of the same.
Are physically uncomfortable because you have to like they're narrower than your shoulders usually, right? So that means that your wrists are turning in order to type on them.
Yeah, that's the only variable that I pay attention to is like, do your arms have to be straight or do they have those like really nice, you know, like 20-degree offset? That's the only thing that I notice. Everything else is just like, it's a keyboard.
All right, let's move it along. Sabine, you have to pick who's next.
Let's go with Steven.
All righty. I'm going to try and I'm going to do a live demo here, so bear with me. We'll see if I can make this happen.
Whoop, live demo alert.
Brave.
Okay, cool. So are you guys seeing this pretty well?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yep. So just going to move my mic here. So this is the motherboard that I'm designing for my pick and place. The point is to take an Arduino Mega and a ramp shield, so like pretty standard 3D printer controller, and then combine it with another board that I made to control a whole bunch of feeders, the things that actually like move the components into the pickable area. And I have these 3 boards and they're all kind of like all over the place. So I wanted to take them all and smush them all into one board. So this is what I came up with. The reason I wanted to do this demo is because I have a USB hub on here. So a pick and place typically needs 2 cameras to be able to align stuff well. And typically what you'll have to do is you have to plug in a USB cable to your computer to control it. And then you have to plug in 2 more USB cables to get your 2 webcams connected to your computer. And it's a pain. So I put a USB hub right here on the corner. So this is actually the webcam that is streaming this video right now. The video is going through this board, going through the USB hub, and then going out over through this back to my computer. So this way you can just plug in 2 webcams. One's for pointing up, looking at here. I can change it now. I've made my point. One is for, I'm all over the place with my menus here. One is for looking downwards to like look at fiducials and stuff and see where the PCB actually is, so you can place the components really well. And then the other one is looking up. So after you pick up a component, it kind of realigns where the machine thinks the component actually is, mainly for rotation. So those 2 cameras should work pretty well. I did not think that this was going to work at all. USB is a very spooky thing to me. The one time I've ever had to deal with it, it was using a 32U4, 18 mega 32U4, and trying to program over USB because it has it built in. And it took me like 12 hours and I still did not get it even remotely close to working. So I was definitely jumping into the deep end on this one. And it was because, I forget the name of the person who did it, but there was someone that made a little USB hub for like RetroPie builds. If you want to make, like a little handheld Raspberry Pi game unit thing, and you need a couple extra USB ports, you can just get this really tiny chip. It's a FE 1.1S, I think is the name of it. It's really inexpensive, and they made this like adorable little board that gives you like an extra 3 USB ports, and I just kind of took that and plopped it on the PCB, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm in the middle of spinning it up. I spent like 16 hours yesterday just cruising through trying to get it to boot and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's what I'm jamming on. Hopefully I will have this running Marlin. Well, it's running Marlin now, but running like a working version of Marlin within the next like 48 hours or so. And then have a big old collective motherboard. I did realize after, I think it was probably 48 hours after I ordered these boards, that I was going to completely change the way I was going to talk to the feeders. So much of this is completely not usable. So I have to go back and scrap like a third of the board and redo it all. But it's better to take the time and do it the right way that I feel good about, instead of, trying to double down on something that I'm a little iffy about the approach. So, but yeah, this one's been monumental. It was like a couple hundred hours in KiCad trying to get it spun up, and I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, so that's been the main thing I've been jamming on, just continuing to try and work on my whole pick and place machine.
Very cool.
What's the
Is-
first?
is- do you have,
product
like,
you
a-
wanna make? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Did you decide, like, there's so many like CNC controls out there at the moment, like, did you have a specific reason why you went with the RAM
Marlin? Why?
Marlin.
Yeah.
With like Tiny G and stuff like that.
Yeah, I looked at a few other ones. I had some people recommend some ones that ran like on an embedded machine, and it kind of handles all the G-code processing. And I looked at a few. I mainly picked Marlin because I've used it a bunch. It was easy to understand, and I knew it could support the ridiculous number of step promoters that I needed to drive for the pick and place.
Right.
I am sure there is a better option. Like I have not done my due diligence on optimizing what firmware boots onto this thing, but I knew Marlin. I knew that I could edit it and update it to work pretty well. So I do not have a good answer for you. It's just because that's what I was like.
Totally valid reason to go with it.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that I will ultimately have to change it. Marlin is great and super easy to edit weird things and change it to work with your specific machine. But I have a feeling it's going to change quite a bit, and it's going to kind of be its own firmware after a period of time, because I'm just going to mess with it so much. Yeah.
What are you gonna make on your pick and place once it's functional?
I don't know. Maybe more pick and place boards.
Yeah. Cool. That would be very rep spirit, right?
That's kind of the
Absolutely.
vibe. Yeah, making pick and places with pick and places. I did the whole reason I wanted to make it to begin with was because I did a Kickstarter like a little over a year ago for these like little light up. Oh, I have one. These light up bow ties. They put out a Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can connect it with your phone, and it loads a web page that's hosted on the bow tie, and you can change the colors and the patterns of the lights and stuff. And I had to solder like thousands of components by hand, and it was a huge pain in the butt. So after I did it all, I was like, I gotta find a solution. Like, this is just completely unsustainable. So I kind of got it in my head that I need to build one of these things. It's been super fun and a big learning exercise, but it's kicked my butt pretty hard so far.
That was the first place I saw Stephen. A friend of mine like 3D printed a bow tie, and then he was like, "Oh, Brian, could we make like a bow tie that is on a PCB?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be a pretty cool project, actually." And then like literally the next day, he sent me like your GIF of like you 3D. I could still remember like your exact face, even like tidying up your bow tie. It's a cool
I saw
project.
it on Nimmel's Twitter when he would.
Oh yeah, I emailed him right before I did the Kickstarter.
Right, and so I saw a bow tie there.
Yeah, I wanted to reach out to him and be like, dude, this is like totally on brand for you. You should totally get one of these things. I wanted to send him one and everything. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
So nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with your ambitious project that I'm sure you sit down and pick up multiple times, just like Liz's xylophone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like y'all were talking about before, it helps so much to have like, you need a little win every once in a while. And if that takes the form of doing a smaller project in the interim, so you're like, okay, sweet. Yeah. Like finish thing and then dive back into the long haul. That's the way to do it. For me, it's like, I'll segment little bits. And then once I get that little thing done, it feels good in and of itself. And part of that goes with putting out a video. That's another thing that's kind of completed. But that's hard sometimes for a long project. Ugh, it's tricky.
Right? Like you publish the video like Martin from Wintergotten, right, with his giant music machine.
Yeah.
Like I feel like is the epitome of what you just described, where like putting out the video is like the little bit of completion that you can have, and because it'll give you that that little HP boost or whatever that feeling is, the motivation.
Totally. Yeah. It's also
it's
like a
the
little
ultimate
bit
long running project.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also like a little pressure to have to put out a video every once in a while to try and stick to a schedule. So that also helps a ton with sticking with a long. I mean, it's not really a deadline. It's completely self-imposed. I could just never make another YouTube video if I felt like it. But the streak of having done it for a while and just like feeling like I should is just enough of a poke that it makes me work on it more. And it's a great tool for like continuing to work on a long project, I've found.
you're on a great roll at the moment as well. Like there's so much like momentum with you, like as in like, you know, that's such a great feeling when you're releasing videos and they're doing well and stuff. Like that's the best.
The best part about it has easily been that people are trying to help with the project. Like I posted a video a week ago yesterday, and everyone in the comments was like, "This is the wrong way to do this, Stephen. Do not do it this way." And they were totally right. I was doing it holistically the wrong way. I was trying to reflow the components on the pick and place. I put a hot air gun on the head. I know, Becky. You are every single person that saw that video. And I tried to go around and like programmatically, like I was like reading in a position file from KiCad that it spits out, and it like wrote G code to send to the machine to go around and reflow them. And it kind of, I mean, it worked, but it's not the right way. It's not the correct way to do it. So I may have sunk another 2 months into trying to, you know, bark up that tree. And everyone was like, nope, don't do it. That's not a good solution. And I just saved 2 months. So that's easily the best part.
I was surprised by how pleasant people were with telling you that it was not the right way. Because
more vitriol.
Yes, I absolutely was, to be honest, because like my initial thought when I heard you were doing that was, oh, that's not going to go well. Not from maybe it'll work, but people in the comments will be like, no, Stephen, not the way to do it.
I guess I haven't gotten tune that muscle yet to know how people are going to react to things. I was like, whatever, posting a video, no big deal.
But that's great. Like
that's a good attitude.
Yeah. And also, like, if you just do the things that like everyone else does, how are you going to find out new things? Like, it's great to learn that like that's not the way to do it. And it doesn't sound like you spent too much time on it. Like, I know you spent some time, but like, you know, that's great. Maybe you'll, like, if nobody did anything differently, we'd all be the exact same. So
right, or
you
if
know,
we
maybe
were afraid to publish because we weren't sure every little thing was right, like that's no good.
Yep.
80%.
80% club.
Not a journalist.
Yeah. 80%.
Not 80% of the truth. 80% finished.
100% true.
100% true and genuine. Yeah.
I think we should make badges that are like for 80% finished club, and maybe have
here's
them.
my mindset, right?
Pareto is on it. A little face of Pareto.
In addition to you know, just needing to get a project out and like not and having to compromise on the features you want, that I noticed there's this additional factor in the 80% rule that actually gives a benefit to the audience, where if the audience member can see themselves improving on the project even a little bit, like, oh, you forgot to do this thing I would obviously have done, or they're inspired to take it in their own direction, then they see themselves in the project. It makes them more engaged and more likely to do it. So because if you see a really impressive project like your flamethrower, arm-mounted flamethrower, Stephen, I'd be like, oh, well, that's been done like really well and by Stephen. So like, why would I even try? Versus like if you did 80% job on the flamethrower, then people could be like, oh, well, if I were to build it, I would clearly make this improvement. So that alone is like a huge motivator, as well as like, you know, the last 20% of the project is the hardest. So it works out for everyone. It's a win-win.
It does.
Just one other thing about that though. So like there is this thing in the electronics community, which I'm sure everybody has experienced so far, about oh, you should have done that, or you should have done this. Like it even happened in the chat when you showed your board, Stephen. People are like, why are you using
really
like, an Atmega? Like you should be using something else.
Yep.
And like that is, it's rife in the electronics or maker community where you should be using this like, so like I made a board, a PCB of like a finger, like somebody flipping the bird, as the Americans might say.
I've seen that.
That's, you should have used the 555, where I used the microcontroller to just blink an LED off once, like every second. And as it's kind of like an art piece to be like, let's not do this, right?
You can hand it out to people who troll you in person.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you should have used the 555. Like as soon as somebody says that to me, I'm like, there you go.
Here's your middle finger.
You have earned a merit badge. Telling people they should have used a 555 merit badge.
But I think like now I'm super conscious about not doing that to people, right? So like when Stephen mentioned in a video like weeks ago that he was going to do that thing, and I was like, I don't want to be that guy to say it, so I'm not going to say it. And then even when he released the video, I was still like, I don't want to be the guy that says, like, maybe you should use a toaster oven. So, like, maybe there's a happy ground in the middle somewhere. I don't know what it is, but I don't think I've reached it. Yeah,
it's about because if you come, like the people who say, oh, you shouldn't use this, you should use this, they obviously have a more natural background in whatever their suggestion is and don't know your path. Right. I teach Arduino in my hackerspace, and I there's like a whole slide in the presentation that's like, why not Arduino? And it's like, well, if you're a Linux sysadmin, you probably want to start with a Raspberry Pi or a BeagleBone because you already know Linux.
When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah, exactly.
And most of the time, people are really sweet and genuine about it. Like, they're like, why did you do it this way? Like, I legitimately do not understand that choice. I view it this other way most of the time. Sometimes people are not quite that way, but they're still giving me information. They still have an opinion. I'm just some goofy kid. And all these people on the internet, at least most of them, are either experts in their field. They know a lot more about this stuff than I do. And like, if I didn't want people to tell me what I was doing wrong, I wouldn't be making these videos. That's kind of the reason I'm doing them, is so that people can tell me why I'm messing up and how to, it's crowdsourcing help more than anything. And, if you can just look past people being like, that's dumb, then it's free advice, It works out great.
Free advice with free grains of salt as well.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to our last guest, Timon, Professional Fart Sparkles. I wanted to make sure I said it that way. Please give us your update. What have you been working on?
I also got some progress to report on a very long-running project. I think I have to give you a bit of background because not everyone knows what I do, obviously. So about a good year ago, I started out to make my own tablet. Which was an itch that I had for like quite a few years now. And I didn't just want to have a tablet. I wanted to have like a standard for modular like mobile hardware, like similar to like, in a desktop PC, you have these standardized PCI Express slots, and like there's like an industry standard for like a modular PC, but we don't have that for like, anything mobile. It's all like piece of monolithic tech that just gets thrown away after a few years. And I entered that project into the Hackaday Prize, and I won in the Hackaday Prize last year, which was really cool.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
And it's a quite daunting project for sure, because I want to do everything, like from mechanical to electrical to like making a standard that people can then use themselves to make their own devices. And like the tablet is just really meant to be like the reference implementation for like this standard for like mobile hardware. And one thing, like most of the stuff worked quite well. I'm using a Jetson Nano, like this is my main board. Can show you the real version too. In the camera. So this is a system on a module, and then just breaking out all of like the major IOs. And then here's my debug port for like USB serial. And then you can like hook up DisplayPort for like external DisplayPort, which you know the tablet has that, or like full-size USB-A that focuses. So all of that, like this idea of the like modular peripherals, that worked out well, but the only thing that didn't work, and I worked on that for I think since last August, is the actual display of the tablet, which is like really important. And that was really frustrating because it's technically not so hard, because I'm using DisplayPort to connect to that display. And the nice thing about embedded DisplayPort, which is like basically the same thing as normal DisplayPort, you can just hook that up. You don't have to like fiddle with drivers in Linux or anything. Technically, if you have like all the signals connected properly and maybe some layout stuff that you have to take care of, it should just work. It didn't. And I've been on that for like back and forth at many iterations. And I think last week, I finally got that to work, which was really, really good because it was holding everything back so far. I can't make a live demo of this, but can show you a picture because the 12-volt adapter that is on here is actually currently powering my photo light. I was I actually just worked with like a PCB that I milled at home, because I didn't want to wait for like getting PCBs back, because I had to iterate here quite a lot, because there were so many things that I had to try out to get it working. And in the end, it turned out I did everything right from the beginning. The driver was wrong. Like, this is an NVIDIA Jetson, and their display driver basically only works with a very specific kind of displays, by accident. There's one cool thing in the DisplayPort stand, which says you can basically make displays that don't need that many resources, so they only use one of the 4 data links, or 2 of the 4 data links, and my display only used 2. And then the display is very smart and just talks to the processor and says, here, I only support these many lanes. Please give me only data on these 2 lanes. The Jetson doesn't do that. It only gives data on 4 lanes. And it is very hidden about the fact that it just does that. And I talked with NVIDIA support and engineers from NVIDIA, and no one had any idea. And then, I don't know, by accident, really, I figured that out and got a display with 4 data links, and then it just magically worked. Which makes me happy, because I can now actually progress on the project and get back to the mechanical design, which I really wanted to go back to, and do more prototypes there.
That's awesome.
Is that that little interface board that you have there? Did you mill that out on your mill in the back?
Yeah.
Wow. What is the pitch on that connector? Yeah.
Yeah. Focus once my face.
Whoa.
That is 0.5 millimeters.
Wow.
Okay.
Crazy.
It can do less. I think it can do 0.4. Like it's Bantam Tools PCB. Well, 6 mil and 6 trace width is possible pretty reliably.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's really helpful for, like, it's pretty expensive for like hobby use. This is actually from the company I work at, but for like really fast iteration stuff, it's invaluable. I love it.
Wow.
Stephen, new addition to the PMP machine where you mill the PCB before you place things on it.
Nope, not doing it.
I mean, I wouldn't do like a full PCB. Like, for this is great, because it's just like, I don't know if you can see that, but it's just like going like straight from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Come on, focus. So there's not too much stuff there. So it's nice for like having one isolated feature or something like that, testing like one IC or something, and then if you have all the individual components tested, get like the big PCB made. And that's what I use it for usually.
Do you ever dive into doing 2 layers on those? Because I've milled a bunch of 1 layers on Abandoned Tools, and they're great, but 2 layers scare me.
I'm just like I'm lazy. And so I try to like just squeeze it on 1 layer as much as possible, even if I have to like make 1 jumper or something. But yeah, it's possible. But then you have to like, you have to connect the vias, which is like really annoying to do. You have to like kneel through a lot of copper wire, and I don't know. It's not, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, gang, are you ready to play my game?
It depends on the game.
Yeah.
It sounds like the intro to a Saw video.
My quiz show game.
Yeah.
You can tell me after I tell you the title of the game. The title of the game is Crowdfunding Campaign or Ambient Musician.
Oh, that's a good game.
Now, are you excited to play the game?
Yeah.
Okay. The rules are: you will each get a guess. I will give you a name, and you'll each get to decide whether you think it's a crowdfunding campaign. They're all hardware crowdfunding campaigns, or an ambient musician or band, and then I will reveal the truth. Okay.
Is it like a buzzer thing, or is
No,
it for?
I'm gonna weigh in like a Masked Singer. So the first one is Loomzag.
Oh man.
To decide if it is an hardware crowdfunding campaign or the name of an ambient electronic musician.
Music.
It's got a German ring to it. If it's a musician, it's kind of, it doesn't it? Or if I just offended the Germans?
I say
I
crowdfunding
would go for
campaign.
music. I don't know. Okay.
Like Loom, has that kind of luminous, like an
some
LED.
light Internet of Thing light thingy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that might be. Oh,
All right.
yeah.
So let's we'll go
Crowdfunding.
around with our votes. Sabine, your vote.
I'm still for music.
Okay. Timon said crowdfunding. Is that your final
Crowdfunding.
answer? Steven?
I'm gonna go with a musician.
Okay. Brian?
Crowdfunding and make Liz be the design vote.
I'll go with ambient musician.
Okay. Loomzag is indeed a crowdfunding campaign.
No.
Loomzag is the smart bag packed with 7 cool features on Indiegogo, funded in 2018. It has an inside light, missing item reminder, open alert, wireless charging, global Wi-Fi, GPS tracking, and a camera. Great job, everyone.
It actually looks kind of cool.
Okay, the next one, The Orb.
The Orb.
Hardware crowdfunding campaign or ambient musician? This also tests if you're into ambient music, like you should be able to get all the bands.
Well, like there has to be a product called the Orb. Like there has to be.
I feel like
Whether it was
it's a red herring though. Like it sounds too product-y, so it might be a ambient musician.
But maybe Becky was.
I should have surveyed your
getting a
music
double
tastes
bluff.
before. I should have checked, like, what's your favorite kind of music, and then found it. But it's okay. I thought about doing video games, but I don't know enough about video games.
I'm just gonna pick musician every time, and I'll get a 50-50 because
Yeah,
I think I literally will get less by actually trying to guess.
You think I stacked the answers 50-50, huh?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Never mind.
All right, let's go around. Sabine, your vote. The Orb.
Ambient musician.
Mm-hmm. Timon.
Yeah, same.
Steven.
I'm also gonna say musician.
Ryan.
Join us.
No, crowdfunding.
Okay, Liz.
I'll go with ambient musician.
Okay, those of you who said ambient musician are correct. The Orb is an electronic music group founded in 1988. Great job. Okay, next one. Seafeel. Crowdfunding campaign
Crowdfunding for sure.
or ambient musician?
Yeah, crowdfunding.
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 Totally sounds like crowdfunding.
It's a terrible name.
Anybody think it's a band?
It's so bad it has to
It
be.
could be like ambient ocean sounds too, but
No,
I'm
it's
still going
spelled
with
wrong.
crowdfunding.
It's spelled
So
wrong
is
for that.
crowdfunding all of y'all's
Like
final
whale
answer?
sounds.
I am saying crowdfunding. Yes.
Crowdfunding.
Yeah.
It would be
Crowdfunding.
SEA if it was the ocean
Yeah,
sounds.
but in German, it's C is SEE.
Oh, no.
So I don't
Oh,
know.
no.
Maybe it's some.
I ignorantly thought that English was the only language.
Okay.
I even learned German in school.
Are you ready for the results?
Yeah.
Seafeel is a British post-rock band formed in the early 1990s.
British.
I didn't think Brock. That surprised me.
Yeah.
Y'all are so. I mean, they're like post-rock, which is an ambient genre. So, y'all were mostly wrong. Okay, great. Which is the point. I'm trying to stump you.
Yeah.
Let's go for Alvinu. Crowdfunding campaign?
Get
Or ambient
outta
musician?
Crowdfunding campaign.
Alvinu.
This was a fun quiz to make.
I bet this is a great true things that sounds similar. How did you come up with these?
This is actually a segment I used to do on my wearable electronics show,
Oh.
where it would be wearable specific crowdfunding campaign, or we did ambient band once because they sound really similar, the names, and then another time we did defense contractor. I didn't think that the non-Americans in the room would get the joke as much. Like, it's not as funny when you don't have the world's most spendy military.
Fair.
Okay, Alvinu votes. Sabine.
Hard one. I go for crowdfunding campaign.
Okay, Timon.
Crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding.
Brian.
Crowdfunding.
Liz.
Crowdfunding.
Okay, you all got it right.
Okay.
Alvinu is
Yes.
it's the smart water fountain for dog and cat. It is healthy, dynamic, and constant temperature. Your pets would enjoy it. They're currently raising on Kickstarter. They have they have 3,000 out of their $20,000 goal. So it's like a temperature controlled pet water fountain.
Hey, I mean,
As
Why is it
as someone who
temperature
like has 2 dogs and does like them a lot, good luck to that Kickstarter.
Well, I do have a filtered cat fountain for my cat. Like cat water fountains are a thing. Like cats
But
like
is
to
it a
drink from.
temperature controlled one?
No, it's not refrigerated. Sometimes I do put an ice cube in it, but
I've given my
I-
dogs
I-
ice
I
cubes,
bought
but
a
I
cat
would.
fountain.
Yeah.
All
But then
right,
my-
we'll
my
finish out the
kids didn't
game. The
want to
last
take
one.
them.
Last one
Oh, I
is
know
Gold
that one.
Frap.
Ambient
This is
Don't give it away if you know it. Gold Frap, crowdfunding campaigner, ambient musician.
Sounds like a Starbucks drink.
It does, doesn't it?
Mhm.
They think that
I go
it,
last.
yeah. Yeah, Timon will go last.
Gold Frap Grande.
It's gotta be a musician. I can't imagine being like, all right, you ready to launch the Gold Frap Kickstarter? I just can't imagine having that thought and clicking the button.
what if it's like edible
Yeah.
gold
Back to
for your
people,
frappuccino?
Maybe it's like
Special
gold leaf for the
people.
top of your like cappuccino or something. Okay, maybe it is.
I
Never
mean,
mind.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go
I can see
around.
that.
Sabine, you have a guess.
Ambient musician.
Okay, Timon.
I mean, musician.
Steven.
Musician.
Ryan.
It's a musician.
Liz.
Musician.
Yeah, good. You all got it right. Congratulations.
Actually,
This
this
is
is
the
the
only band I knew.
Yes, I was hoping that some of these would be bands you would know.
They have one really famous song. What is it?
Yeah, they do.
Because I don't know them well. I just know that I think they might have been on like a game like music playlist or something that I used to listen to.
They're an English electronic duo from London formed in 1999. I couldn't tell you the name of their popular song, but I definitely know some of their music.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for playing this edition of Crowdfunding Campaigner Ambient.
Awesome, thanks.
That was a good game. I like that.
Yeah.
Quiz. It was very good.
Defense contractor one, I think, is even harder because you haven't ever heard of the defense contractor names either, right? Like
Yeah.
you have no chance unless you are like, I don't know, work for the government or something.
Yeah.
Even then. So thank you for playing. That was a little fun to put together. Thought we could give us a good laugh at the close of our show. So thank you. Thanks everybody for joining. This was a really fun experience for me to host. If you're interested in finding anybody on the show today's information, everybody's YouTube channels and Twitters and all of their details and websites are linked in the description, as well as a link to an article for great resources for donating to Black Lives Matter causes, which we don't see this show as getting back to normal. We see it as trying to continue like bringing some positivity and creative energy towards anything we can. So with that, I would ask if anyone has any final thoughts or perhaps a joke to close us out.
Why did the Scarecrow get a promotion?
Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field. I heard that one yesterday, and I almost punched the person that told me it.
Excellent.
I'm only telling it now because you can't punch me.
I would
Steven,
never.
you
Love it.
are ready to become
won't
a
punch
dad
you.
with a joke like that.
I cannot wait to embarrass my kids so hard. It's going to be great.
Okay, so thanks everyone. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Tune in next month for another MakerCast. Pay attention to social media to find out whose channel it will be on, but you could also subscribe to the playlist. Whose channel is it on? David Watts' channel? The playlist of MakerCast episodes you can find easily with a search. And I will see you soon. Thanks everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.